Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's the Uncensored match build-up show. We're taking on Man United at Old Trafford on Sunday, and we thought, what better way to build up than to let Manx into the building. Adam and Ste join us from Full Time Devils. It's been a while, and the last time I actually saw you in person was we were doing the fan zone commentary.
The worst day of your life.
The worst day of your life, yeah.
That was
when Steven Gerrard basically made an absolute bell end of me.
And I still got rinsed because, as you remember, we were sitting there with no commentary, the weirdest camera angle on the screen and everything. Yeah. And I think my reaction was, that's either offside or it's the best goal I've ever seen, because you couldn't hear the atmosphere, so you don't know if it's gone in.
They have a weird camera angle on that.
It's hanging. It's hanging. I said, I'm never doing it again.
Yeah.
Never doing it again, because that was one of the worst ways to watch a match I've ever seen.
It was fully shite. I had to get on a train, go down to London, away from my season ticket at Anfield, to go and sit in Sky's little box room studio with some shitty shirts on the wall and watch Steven Gerrard get sent off after 30 seconds.
Could have been worse. You could have been on with Heavy D.
With this cunt, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, let's get it right. Come on.
I think I'm a tier above Heavy D.
Yeah, it's maybe just about.
Well, you know, we've got the next 20 minutes or so to find out whether that's true or not. Boom, Chris, first and foremost. Look, this is a massive game. To be fair, these games are always massive, but most importantly, I think it's a great indication, I think, and it's a great a chance for with either teams to kind of show which one's on top. And as I've got in the agenda there, Liverpool need to earn the right to actually look up the table rather than look over the shoulder.
Yeah, look, the last couple of weeks in the Premier League has really bunched up the top six, hasn't it? You know, if you beat us, you're 2 points behind us, and the likelihood is that we'll probably be in fifth place after the fixture with everybody else. I'm assuming that they're going to win the game, and you know, Liverpool want to be fighting for the title. Of course, Manchester United want to be fighting for the title as well. It seems, and you've said it before, it seems like it's everybody's year. Everybody seems to have a reason to believe that it's their year this season.
With 6 teams going for it, if we beat you, I think that puts second to sixth across 3 point spread, depending on how the rest of the results go, which is mental. Yeah. Which is absolutely mental.
I mean, Chelsea, you'd be livid if you were Chelsea as well. But, you know, you've had a 12, 13 game
13,
win streak, and yet you're actually only 5-6 points clear.
That's because of how poorly they started and how long it took.
And that's how quickly it can change. A couple of results.
But it's crazy, isn't it? Because, you know, we were talking a month ago, Man United, we were all looking at Man United. I say we all, use words, we were looking and having a little giggle, and we were, you know, because it looked like, it was almost like season over. But, you know, you've got on this run now, 9 games run on.
We've now got,
hopefully 10.
After this game, we've got 5 games against the bottom 10. And there are top 6 sides or top 5 sides playing each other in each of those weekends. And that's how quickly it can turn.
Yeah.
City went from being, when's the parade going to be, to like, what's going on, in 3 matches. Yeah. And it was, in that time, Chelsea won constantly winning their matches that they just managed to overtake and start putting a bit of distance between them. And it literally can change like that. At 3 games, a 3-game streak, let alone a 9-game streak. Yeah. Usually just on a 3-game slip, really. It's not all in the same competition. It's in 3 competitions, so you're lucky. Yeah. But if that was a 3-game slip in the lead, you in the league even, you could really find yourselves
well out of there now. And this is the thing, we have been quite fortunate in that, you know, we've had Plymouth in the Cup, we've had Southampton in the Cup. Luckily, that's a 2-legged tie, and we actually drew with Sunderland. But, you know, before that, you know, we've had 1 league game. Before that, we'd beaten Everton, we'd beaten Manchester City, and we were on a real up. We've had 1 draw in the league, and now it feels like everything's turned and we're sort of on a downward trend.
It's crazy, because we talk about this notion of it being everyone's year. It looks like your fan base looked like they were ready to, the Reds were ready to pop about 2 months ago.
Because I thought that we were seeing good things on the pitch.
I agree.
It just wasn't. It wasn't happening for us. So there was no one getting down about it. It was like, it's frustration.
I think the problem you've got, and you will have until someone delivers another league title, because look, we've been in that situation, is that the post-Fergie era is a wilderness. It's a wilderness of football, because you can't. That will never be replicated ever again. No. There will never be another guy who sits in charge for 20 years.
If someone wins 1, they're going to have to win 2, because we're like, anyone can win 1.
Well, exactly. This is the thing I think you've got, where you're in that transition period of a few seasons now, where you've got to get yourselves back up into contention, because look, Liverpool are living proof that when you don't do that, and if you miss an opportunity to get yourselves back up there, it can be very, very difficult.
Not let alone you guys. Look at Arsenal. Yeah, Arsenal. Let's
absolutely.
Because look how crazy it sent their fan base. That constant hope and failure thing has really. It's
fucking toyed with them, hasn't it?
It really has.
They're on the brink.
But that's why I think when you said before, I think we've looked so much better. And the results weren't there early on in the season, but actually, if you compare it to what we were like last year, and I know it sounds a little bit like Arsenal to talk about performance and not about results, but actually, when you look at Louis van Gaal's side over the past 2 years, it was abysmal. And to see that change almost instantly, there were a couple of early rusty games, and beyond that, at home we were outstanding. We just had four draws in a row that we shouldn't have had.
The Arsenal one especially, that midfield bullied Arsenal's midfield. It was great to watch, but you just felt without that second goal, and we can talk about the refereeing decisions. There's a few that have started to go our way, which is mint because now the press are like flipping out over it. Great, you weren't flipping out about it 2 weeks ago when we had 20.
Hang on a second, wasn't there a conspiracy against Man United a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah. It's press talking shite as usual, isn't it? So it's nice that they're going in our favour a little bit now. But there was some awful decisions.
Yeah, there were
decisions
when
awful decisions. At 1-0 and 0-0 when that's going to impact on the game, and it eventually didn't end up meaning.
And that Middlesbrough game was the turning point for me as well. With United going 1-0 down, having had a goal disallowed, another decision. That was the last of probably the really big decision.
No idea whatsoever.
Well, let's talk about the Sunderland draw then, shall we, boys?
Well, actually, we will do. Well, we won't at all because I control the agenda. But trivia time question this week. We'll split it because we've got two teams that we're going to focus on. I want you to name the top 3 appearance makers in this fixture for both teams. So the top 3 appearance makers for Man United and the top 3 appearance makers for Liverpool Football Club. And we'll do the answers toward the end. So have a little think. We did.
Jemba one.
Weirdly enough, well, listen, you'll have to find out. I mean, I can tell you pretty categorically, no. But you know what?
Must be tight.
You might as well throw it in there if you're desperate. But yeah, just to clarify, not just the Premier League era, because football. Yeah, how he's getting on with Mourinho? How's he fitting in? Because from the outside looking in, like a few years ago, I thought he's nailed on for the United job when he was at Madrid, and he kind of dropped his kecks and bared his arse.
He might as well have put an advert on Craigslist, hadn't he? Saying he's up for coming for it. I didn't want him, and I'm not afraid to say it. I didn't want him. I thought there was elements of his character and stuff that I didn't like. Clearly a winner. Clearly a successful guy wherever he goes, but there is the question mark over the longevity. And people tell me football's changed, but I don't want it to change. I'd like legacies. I want to be a guy. I want to be winning 13 out of 20 titles. Why can't we do that every year?
Football has changed, but there's no reason why a Jose can't go. In the same way that I look at Klopp at Liverpool, there's no reason why he can't be there for, he's not going to be there for 26 years, 27 years. Of course he's not. But there's no reason why he can't be there for 10, 12. And I think Jose's the same. Where does he go after United?
Do you think Jose was bought for that, though, or do you think he was bought to deliver a title and then for somebody else to come in?
I think a bit of both.
I didn't want to enter that cycle of a manager every couple of years, because that's when you blow loads of dough, because he didn't like them players. He needs his own players, and then you blow a load of dough, and then he goes, and then you need another guy, and he needs to blow. And there's just a constant cycle of players. I mean, Rooney's just equals to Bobby Charlton's record, but the next guy on the list has got about 30 goals. That's how new this team is and this squad is and everything since the post-Fergie era. And I wanted someone to come and build a legacy, and I'm still not sure that Jose Mourinho's that guy. And I've still got question marks.
That's where I disagree.
I think in his head he always wanted that. But he's like that lad.
I think I could take Kelly Brook out with his mark in.
Exactly, but it's like that. Everyone's got that mate, haven't they?
You're right.
He thinks he wants love. He thinks he wants a long-term relationship, but really he just wants the exact.
No, but let's be honest.
He just wants to sample the world's delight.
Even those guys find themselves in a long-term relationship eventually, most of the time. And I look at Jose. I think where does he go after here? He's either going to end up going to a rival of a club that he's managed before and he doesn't want to go there, or there are no other big clubs, and the only other one is Portugal. And I think that's a proper end of career.
I think the thing is, I'd have agreed with the Portugal thing, but they've just won the Euros. So that's probably not as attractive as it was.
He's not going to hit that height.
Exactly, you know what
I mean? Like
they're difficult, isn't it?
A Portugal side with Ronaldo in it either, which I think would have been a big draw.
You got to put it on Nani. Or Ronaldo Sanchez, whatever, but it's Nani in it, let's face it. Yeah, I still got question marks about how he handles the youth, because there was a lot of talk that we was going in for this Lindelof fella, which seems like it was a load of Portuguese bullshit, or it seems like that way. It was a load of Portuguese bullshit. But why are we going for a 22-year-old when we've got some unreal centre-half talent in the academy? If he'd have given one of them lads 10 minutes and they would have been shit, and then he goes, well, I give him a chance, he was shit, I'm going buying someone, everyone would have been like, all right, fair play, do what you got to do.
It's hard work doing that at the top end of the league, though. We've had a lot of discussion about this. It takes big bollocks to be able to come in, and the problem is that Liverpool, I think, we're more likely to see that, because I think Jurgen's so well integrated into the club and the fan base and what have you, whereas there is, with Mourinho, it only take a bad season for people to start to turn, I think.
We saw under Lou Van Gaal, he wins the FA Cup, the under-21s win the league, and he bloods 14 youngsters, including what the incredible rise of Marcus Rashford, who, even as someone who watches the youth, he was not in my top 5 for people to make a debut last year at all. He was in no ones. And Lou Van Gaal had that success with the youth, still sacked him. So it's clearly not that you've just got to help do stuff with youth. A guy that Lou Van Gaal debuted in Jesse Lingard scores the winner in the FA Cup final. Yeah. So that's what Lou Van Gaal did for the youth. Still sacked the guy.
I think the big issue you've got is a question of identity, and it's whether you are you like us, like the club that you were, from the 70s and 80s that had a great grassroots thing. I said proper football club, but you know what I mean. Man United have become. I think have pretensions of being the English Real Madrid kind of thing. This footballing superpower, which means what you've done, and you can see that by the transfer policy. It's having to break transfer records, having to go out and buy mega players to plug in to sell mega shirts.
But not the most Mourinho thing ever. He breaks the transfer record for a youth academy product of the club.
Yeah, I think the issue here is. There needs to be a mentality change as well at United.
Well, we want our cake, we want to eat it. We want to bring youth in.
And let's be honest, let's look at Arsenal. I mean, Arsene Wenger, the one thing you could probably say from him is he's always been able to bring players through that nobody thought were going to be any good. He's done that very well. But the problem is they come into the side, and because they're not doing very well, the mentality's not strong enough. They actually end up flopping again. Because they're not coming into a side that already knows how to win, that is mentally strong. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lack of characters in the game, full stop. When we talk about Gerrard, Keane, Vieira, at those 3 great clubs. Who have you got now? Chris Smalling and Jordan Henderson. Yeah. I'm sorry, they're not fit to lace the boots of those 3 that we just mentioned.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, certainly. Just getting back to the game then, I mean, Chris, from Liverpool perspective, no Sadio Mane, time to panic?
I think if you'd have watched us against Southampton, yeah, you could probably panic, to be honest with you. We look completely and utterly fucking toothless. But we'd not had Phil Coutinho, we didn't have Jordan Henderson, we've not had Joel Matip. You take 3, 4 if you include Mane, top players out of any Premier League side, they're going to fucking struggle. They're going to take a couple of weeks to get used to it. For me, look, Phil Coutinho's key for this game for us. If he can start, he's got that little bit of something where he can do something.
We saw him in the Europa League last year, didn't we? He was the difference maker in that tie, ultimately, that goal he scores. Because when David De Gea has... You've got a pretty good record against us in the last few years, particularly at Trafford, but so much of that has been down to David De Gea. And I think there's a psychological hump that you've got to get over when you've got a great goalkeeper like that.
What was the game? Was it a couple of years ago? Was it? Wasn't Balotelli that missed about 15
Sterling missed a ton of chances, and that's the kind of thing.
There was 3 that was certain goals, definitely. Yeah.
And our record at Old Trafford's fucking abysmal, isn't it? I think we've lost 4 of the last 5.
There's only the penalty game, isn't there? There's only the penalty game that used to beat us.
Yeah, well,
in the last 7 or 8 years, if we win well. But that's, you know what I mean?
But you're going back to the 2 sides there, aren't you? In 09, where we came second in the league. And 13-14, where we came second in the league as well,
I think this is the first time in a long time where I think they're both at the very top end of the Premier League in terms of level, the way that they're playing. I think if you look over the past few years, Liverpool have been at a level, but United have probably not had their best seasons. Generally speaking, over the course of the past 20 years, of course, it's going to be United have been a slightly better. So actually, right now, both sides are probably as good going forward as the other. Defensively, weaker than going forward. And I think that's what makes this game so interesting. These are fairly new sides, new managers at the clubs, relatively speaking. This is a game that decides whether or not they've got the right to say, yeah, we are at the top of the table, as you said before.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's it. It looks like there's a growing feeling around Man United fans that because you're on such a great run, like, right, great, you've found equilibrium, you've got your feet back underneath you. And I think from Liverpool's perspective, just to try and change the mentality of that top 4, top 6, whatever, that's a big marker for Liverpool to lay down to go to Old Trafford. Because again, as we've said, we don't have a great record of going there and getting the win. It's a
massive game that can't be overstated on both levels. If we beat you, we peg you back to only a 2-point difference. We put ourselves in the conversation. If you beat us, you open a gap. You cement your credentials at coming to Old Trafford when we are on this form. It's such a big game. And I know Sky like to blow the shit out of all of these games, but they've actually got a reason to this time. It's relevant.
It feels like, as you were saying, it feels like we're on a par for the first time. We've had seasons where Liverpool have done Man United, and most of the time in the Premier League, Man United have been on top. But it's never really felt like we've both been level at exactly the same time.
On every level. It's a fairly, like I said, they're both quite new managers. They're both trying to implement their own systems, their own styles. They've probably, Klopp's had that little bit longer. But actually, Jose's just about found now the balance in his side. And Klopp this season now has got that run going of a side and players that are playing in the way that he wants to play. And that's what makes
Do you think he's getting a better tune out of the players than the ability of the players?
Ours?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think squad.
We're saying we're on a similar level, but I actually think that it's a greater achievement what Klopp is doing with Liverpool than what Mourinho's doing with Man United, because let's face it, if Man United finish outside of the top four with the wealth that's been spent on those players, that's not just a failure, that's like, it's borderline catastrophic, isn't it? You know, when you consider the investment that's gone into that. Whereas, you know, what Klopp's doing is a bit more but with respect,
that says a lot more about where Liverpool have come from recently, though. I mean, I think United have got, as you said, we want our cake and being able to eat it. And Liverpool are...
And a candle.
And I completely understand why you guys are excited about this season. Because you're playing well, you've got a manager who... Listen, I would have happily taken Klopp at United, you know, before he joined Liverpool. And that's the type of guy that he is. I think when he finds himself at a club, he will buy into that club in the best way possible, and the fans will buy into him.
Well, he's definitely a likeable guy.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He's really open and honest in his interviews, and I like that. And I can see why you lot have talked to him so well.
He is coming from an easier base in terms of the expectation at Liverpool is big, but given recent success, the expectation at United is that little bit bigger.
You say that he'd be you wanted him at United, and I totally understand that, but I'm not sure that when he makes the signings, United fans would have been happy with his signings, because I don't think he's the type of guy to go out and buy a Pogba. I definitely don't think he'd have got Zlatan in. I think both good signings, to be fair, but I think, you know, he's more in keeping with our transfer policy and the way that we're trying to build towards success now.
It's two different approaches to the same problem, isn't it? And I think, unfortunately, there's a very real chance that both of them won't be successful, because how do you compete with Chelsea and Man City in terms of
how much do you think lack of Europe helped you guys? Because it's obviously helped Chelsea.
Well, I think
last year.
I think you can even look at it, and again, I don't think it's any coincidence that United's good runs come not with the Europa League.
Not any coincidence.
Exactly.
Look at our defeats. I think City was City on the back one. City might not have been on the back one, but Chelsea and Watford was on the back of Europa League. Our disappointing draws was on the back of Europa League, and there's some study somewhere which proves that when it's when you're advancing in the Europa League, your league form.
I love how this is like new information to you. Yeah,
we've had a
few years of this, mate. Thanks.
But I don't understand why it's different to the Champions League, because it's the same.
Yeah, Sunday football shit. That's why.
And you do travel. You do tend to travel a lot further.
I mean, the distances are bigger, but I think it's a bigger mental drain. I don't think managers know quite now how to
walking,
approach
they're on private
Europa League. How do you approach the Europa League? I mean, do you go full at it, or do you? And I think that's the bigger mental challenge. In the Champions League, you know that the players are up for it.
Yeah.
You know that there's one route, and you go to win the Champions League.
Playing in the Europa League is like playing in the FA Cup. Is that every team you come when you're Liverpool, when you're Man United, every team, it's the biggest game in the careers of these lads when they come up against you. So they go out there and they die for it, and you've got to be on it against a bunch of players that you should. If it was the Premier League, you'd fucking piss all over them, like you mean. But because of that, it's like there's a different order that you can't swing your dick around as much in the Europa League until you get to the latter stages, because in the early stages
people are more on par with.
Well, they just want to murder you. In the early stages, you've got a bunch of Eastern European,
the ambition just isn't there.
Who just want to come and smash your face in and tell the grandkids that they did Liverpool and United. So
my mate's a strength and conditioning coach at Southampton. I said to him, like, use your experience in this. What's the key? What's the difference? And he said, when it's all going well, he goes, you can cope with Thursday, Sunday, not a problem. He goes, but if you need to change anything, he says there's no time in the schedule. He goes, the players are coming in, they're recovering, and then they're getting ready for the next game. He goes, there's
no training, is there?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You get no choice. At least in the Champions League, you periodically get Tuesday games as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Which I know has got a knock-on impact from the weekend before, but
but I think that's easier to deal with. I think that's still an easier thing to deal with.
Oh yeah,
exactly. I think the Premier League, they're going to be the more intense games in general. The Tuesday, this is very much a one-off game.
And people play football in the Champions League too. Again, it's people don't go. You get your managers who play more pragmatic football. You've got one. You've got one of them managers now, but I think when you play in the Champions League, you come up against Real Madrid, you don't expect a war of attrition. You go at it and you play some free-flowing football.
Yeah, well, just on this game, right? How's Mourinho going to set up? Is he going to do what he did at Anfield?
I don't know. This is where we find out what he's about.
Exactly. No, I agree.
We've just done our preview this morning, and I've gone with, I want to see an attacking line. I want to see Marshall. I want to see Mkhitaryan.
Fellaini off the back of his new contract.
But I wouldn't be shocked to see a Jesse Lingard. I think we
know what side he would play if it. And I know this doesn't answer your question. We know what side he would play if it wasn't Liverpool. So this is the real test now of where he's at. I think earlier on in the season, he did pretty much play for a 0-0 draw, try and try and win it on the counter-attack. But actually, I think you can accept that United weren't in the best place at that moment in time. Liverpool
but he has done it
well.
throughout his career, hasn't he?
He has.
And he's won leagues off the back of this, not losing points to his rivals.
Sunday, wouldn't you?
Maybe actually, yeah. I think I probably
would. Better for you.
Yeah.
You've still got that 5-point gap.
I think you've got to win your own games.
I don't know. It depends. It depends. A draw. Well, no, it depends on the gap because I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the gap to Man United.
Is a draw?
I'm interested in the gap.
Is a draw going to ruin
Chelsea?
Your week?
It depends how it's achieved.
I don't think it's going to.
If we're 1-0 up and we draw 1-1, yeah, that's.
I think I'll be honest. I think having seen Plymouth and having seen Southampton, I probably would take a draw now.
I don't think
against the team that's had a 9-game win streak. I think I probably would.
I think a draw would ruin our week.
I think
based on.
Well, if that would ruin your week, I'm defo taking the draw.
Well, exactly.
Fuck you! I don't give a shit about your fucking week. You know what I mean?
There'll be fucking mass hangings, like, you know what I mean?
We need the win. We've got to win. You've got to win your home games in these and not lose your away games.
Exactly,
I can go with that.
I think you're right. I think it's interesting to see where if Mourinho's got if he's got the bottle for it, because that is a big ask. Because again, it's still precariously balanced, and he's put some credit in the bank because you've won some games back to back, which definitely helps. So he's on more solid ground. But all that being said, I think there's still a mentality, and you're being pleasant today. But there's definitely a mentality amongst Man United fans that Liverpool shouldn't be on a par with Man United. That Liverpool are concerned. Anyone who's under the age of 30 will probably have that mentality. Because
I think anyone over the age of 30 just wants to win that game at all costs, regardless, because of the history of the two clubs.
Exactly, and I think
it is the biggest game in English football.
Yeah.
It's become more focused on City because of Pep Guardiola coming and the Arab money, but ultimately this is English football's premier game.
Yeah, it's going to be
no doubt about
the shittest game of football ever seen. Now,
yeah,
like
the last one.
You know what? I mean, this
Red Monday.
This goes either way. I mean, I think the one, like I said, I think the one at Anfield. I think Jose has played differently at United this season than he's played everywhere else in the main. He's played a lot more attacking football. Now, that's not to say that he's not going to some of the bigger games and sit that little bit deeper, but I think, let's be honest, against Spurs, he played a pretty attacking lineup.
It was very tactical. It was
albeit
using
it was
the channels
tactical.
and that.
But it was still a very attacking.
I'm really interested to see how he does.
Just a quick question then. Obviously, Rooney could actually break the record. Does he?
He won't start.
You don't think he'll start?
I don't think he will, but I wouldn't be upset if he did.
So what are you thinking? Is it Mata or Mkhitaryan?
I think Mkhitaryan, Martial and Ibrahimovic.
Yeah,
and then
Ibrahimovic is guaranteed to start.
That three of Carrick, Herrera and Pogba. That's who it's going to be.
Carrick, Herrera and Pogba.
That midfield's got a perfect blend for itself at the moment. It's then what happens with defence, because Phil Jones has gone without an injury or a clanger now for weeks. So that train's never.
We haven't seen a full-on Phil Jones game in a while, have we? So
there was one the other week when he got someone fouled him and he was going in big time. Yeah, it was a good Phil Jones face. Yeah.
Right, okay then, boys. Who in terms of Man United is going to be key to your performance at the weekend?
Carrick and Mkhitaryan.
Yeah,
Carrick and Mkhitaryan.
I think Ibrahimovic is in its own way. I think Ibrahimovic in his own way is. I think because we've seen him score a lot of goals this season, and he's been so influential in the way that
How's he got now? Is it 13?
Oh, I think it's more.
No, it's more than that. Yeah. It's about 17, something like that. And he's playing really well, but he's not been as clinical as you would hope for. Now, for most players coming into the league, to score that number of goals is an exceptional achievement, particularly at his age and his first season in the Premier League.
I'd have been happy with 20 at the start in the summer.
But he's still not been as clinical as he could have been. And I think in the bigger games, we saw that. The 0-0 at Anfield, we saw that there. He had one chance. And if you're going to be harsh...
So normally puts it across the goal.
He should be getting that on target, and he should be causing the keeper a problem, and he didn't. And I think that's the big key. If we're going to be limited to chances at weekend, you've got to see him being a little bit more clinical. He's capable, but you've got to see him taking more of the chances.
Absolutely. Chris?
If Jordan Henderson's fit and available, I think he's the man for us, to be honest with you. I know you kind of brushed over him not being fit to lace the boosters and players before, but he really does give us a platform to play attacking football.
I really don't see it. I can't understand.
That's cool. Like you're a Man United fan. I don't expect you to see it. You know what I mean? But he really does it, and hopefully you will see this on Sunday.
I can with other players. I can see Mane, I can see Coutinho, I can see Matic.
But ultimately...
But if Henderson are just like...
In fairness, do you watch the 90 minutes of Liverpool games?
Yeah.
Do you?
I watch 10, 15 games a week.
Well, fair enough. You're just fucking blind. Just don't know football.
There we go. Steve Olsen just come on here and admit that he doesn't know football. That's fine. But no, I agree. I think Jordan Henderson, just how the dynamism he adds to midfield. But again, it's going to be one of Phil Coutinho, Adam Lallana, and whomever starts centrally. If it's Firmino, it'll be...
In fact, I mean, I think Adam Lallana's been outstanding this season.
Yeah.
What's he on, 7-7? 7 goals, 7 assists?
Something like that.
I think just a quick one as well. I think Herrera's massive for United in a completely different way, because I think he's that bite in midfield. He was at Anfield, and I know that it was a 0-0 draw, and I know we can look at the game and say it wasn't the best, but he's so influential in them big games. And he wasn't great, actually, in midweek against Hull. But I can still see in these big games, he causes teams so many problems just purely because he's a feisty
He is a quality player, like absolutely top quality.
Score prediction, lads?
I think it's goals. I don't think it's 0-0.
Okay. I think it's. I'm going to say 2-1. I think 2-1 United, but honestly, it could go either way. But it depends on how the game is. I think it'll be it'll be tight regardless in terms of the openness of the game. But I do think there'll be goals in the side, because I think defensively neither are outstanding, and in terms of going forward, I think both are.
I'm torn on the team I think we should play. I'm thinking the predictions on we're going to go for it, we'll just outpoint you, and Jose Mourinho isn't me, and he probably thinking along the lines of let's 0-0 it and maybe try and nick one. So it could. I would not be shocked to see a 1-0 United, but I do think there'd be goals.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I think you've pretty much nailed it, the pair of you, to be honest. I think I'll obviously swing towards Liverpool. I think it's going to be a tight, edgy game, and it's going to be nervy the whole way through. I think 1-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, I'd take it 2-1 to Liverpool. I'd like to see this go similarly to when we played Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, if I'm honest. I think if we can... the intensity and the movement of what I think is very difficult to handle. If we can get up, we can take our chances. I can see it being one of those games where you're just throwing Fellaini on with 15 minutes and trying to bully things. That'd be nice. That would be nice. I'll take 2-1 to us. Okay, trivia answer then. The question was, name the top 3 appearance makers in this fixture for both teams. Boys, do you want to throw some names that you think it's going to be?
Bobby's got to be on it. And I'd say Ryan Giggs has got to be on it.
Ryan Giggs, number 1.
Rooney's got to be in there.
No,
is he not?
He's got 500 and some appearances, but I think it's one of theirs is in the mix.
Oh, it's your top 3, isn't it?
Is it our top 3?
And our
oh, right, I thought it was a combined top 3.
I mean, Gerrard's was going to Carragher must be in there for you guys.
No, I think it's someone earlier. I'm thinking like Anson or someone.
For us, I think it would be Callahan, Carragher and Gerrard.
So, Steven Gerrard, number 1. Jamie Carragher, number 2, and Ian Rush, number 3. Callaghan's 4th, actually.
He's had
and
like
I think Bobby Charlton's 4th
more
or
appearances
5th.
than anyone.
Ryan Giggs, number 1. Paul Scholes and Gary Neville.
There you go.
I was going to go, but they seem a bit easy then.
How great is it that the top 5 across the 2 there are all homegrown for both of our clubs?
Exactly.
That's boss, actually, yeah.
Good when you think about it. Won't be seeing that again anytime soon, boys.
Sitting here in 20 years and it's Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, Paul Pogba. Anyway, thanks very much for watching the show this week. It's been a surprising pleasure. Hopefully the game on Sunday continues to be a pleasure as well. Of course, go and subscribe to Full Time Devils. Subscribe to Ste Housen's channel as well. Why not? And yeah, check back here for more amazing content. We'll be over on Full Time Devils doing a live show as well. All boss stuff. And we'll be back here post-match with the usual raft of content. Cheers.